Working with events in Google Calendar. In this section of the course, we'll take a look at a couple different ways to create events and how to add both guests and resources to the event. Before you start creating events, make sure that your time zone and language are set correctly. To do that, go to Settings. In the Language drop-down, you can select your language, you can select your country, and in this field you can select your time zone. You can also select your date format, your time format, and the day of the week that your calendar starts on. When you've made those changes, go ahead and click Save. There are a few different ways to create events in Google Calendar. The first way is to select Create Event. This opens up the event window and allows you to define the event's parameters. In the What field, enter the purpose of the event. I'm going to create an event for my ABC team. And that's going to happen tomorrow. So I'll click on that field to get my calendar, choose the 20th, and it's going to go from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. So there's 10 a.m. and by default it sets the end time to an hour later. Next I want to add guests. So I'll come over here to the guests section and I can enter their individual email addresses separated by commas, or I can choose from my contact picker. So I'll select Choose from Contacts, which will open my contact picker. And since I'm creating this event for the ABC team, and I created this group earlier in the Google Mail section of the course, I'll select the team here, ABC team. Their email addresses and names are added down below. I'm going to say Select All and select Done. And that will add all three of those individuals into the guest section. The next thing I want to do is to find a room or a resource. So I'll come over here and choose Check Guest and Resource Availability, and this brings up another little dialog for me. Here are the individuals that will be attending the meeting so far. Now I need to find a room to hold the meeting. So I'll come down here and look in Building 1, that's where we're all located, and it shows me all of the resources available to me. If there's a green box, it means that resource or that room is available. If there's a red box with an X in it, that means that room is not available at this time. So I'm going to select K2 because there's only 4 of us and click Add, and it adds K2 under my list. And it looks like everybody is available between 10 and 11 a.m. If there was a conflict with one of my guests, I could use the Find Next Available Time link, and that would find the next available time when all of us were available. You can scroll through your calendar times by placing your cursor until it turns into a crosshair, and then you can scroll left and right. You can also use the right and left arrows to move through the calendar as well. And now with my room set or my resource set and my guests selected, I'll just click OK. And now if I look in this list over here, I'll see the room is listed as well. When I save this, I'll receive an email letting me know that that room's been reserved for me. If I wanted to, I could add a description. If I scroll down, I can add an attachment as a Google document. And by default, I'll have a couple different reminders set up for me already. So I'll receive an email reminder 10 minutes before the meeting and a pop-up 15 minutes before the meeting. I can also add another reminder and say I want to receive an email, let's say 1 day beforehand. And we'll go ahead and save this. Then it asks me if I want to send invitations to the guests. Well, I do. Once they receive the invitation, they'll be able to either accept or reject the invitation. So let's click Send. And it tells me that my meeting's been created, and there it is. The other way to create an event is to go up to Quick Add and enter the event details. So I'm going to type in and then press Enter. And it went ahead and created that event for me right over here. If I double click this dark area of the event, it'll open up the event in the event window, and I can see that that's the information I typed in, and it also said where, Dr. Miller's office, and the time. I'll go ahead and save that. And the last way to create an event is to just click and drag in the calendar. So I'm going to click and drag from here, and I'm going to have lunch with Todd. Go ahead and create event. So now my lunch with Todd is set. The other thing that I can do is click and drag events on my calendar. So if I wanted to change the meeting from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m., and let's change it down to 11 to 12 p.m., it moved it, and because there's guests associated with this event, I'll get this little dialog that says, do I want to notify the guests? And I'll say, yes, go ahead and send. So now my event was updated, and my guests will get notification as well that the meeting has been moved. So lastly, let's take a look at how to create a reoccurring event. So let's go over to Create Event, and let's create an event for my XYZ team. And this will happen on the 20th. From 3 to 4 p.m. And I'm going to say it does repeat. Daily, every weekday, Monday through Friday. I'm going to say weekly. And because it knows I'm creating this on Friday, it already has the Friday selected. Then I can define the range. Well, it's going to start tomorrow, and it's going to end. You can't really see it on here, but it will end never, or I can define the time when it's going to end. So I'm going to go ahead and click Save. And here's my meeting over here now. And now if I look at the next week, there's the same meeting from 3 to 4. And there's the same meeting from 3 to 4. So it did create that reoccurring event. So let's go back over here. This is my little mini calendar to March 20th. So that's how you create events in Google Calendar.